Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are putting on our detective hats. We're going to crack one of the biggest mysteries out there, the case of the messy data set. So, let's just get this out of the way. Data is almost never perfect, right? It comes to us with secrets and errors and all sorts of inconsistencies. So the big question you've got to ask yourself is your data telling you the whole truth? Or are there hidden clues in there that could totally flip the script on your entire story? And that's exactly where you come in. I love this quote because it just nails it. Cleaning data isn't just some, technical chore. It's a full-on investigation. You got to be a detective, hunting for clues, following leads, and piecing together all the evidence before you can even think about presenting your findings. Okay, let's get into it. First things first, we have to survey the crime scene. We need to really understand the problem we're up against here.
I want you to think of your raw data like it's a crime scene. You've got a missing value over here, an incorrect entry over there. Every single one of those is a piece of misleading evidence. And if you don't spot them, your whole analysis could be built on a house of cards. You could end up arresting the wrong suspect or, in the real world, making a completely wrong business decision.
So, how do we kick off this investigation? Well, every good detective needs a forensic kit. And for us, that kit is Power Query. It's this incredibly powerful tool right inside Power BI, and we're about to crack it open and see exactly what's inside.
Right inside the Power Query editor, you've got this data preview pane with three absolutely essential tools. Column quality, that's like your first sweep of the scene. It quickly flags the obvious problems, like errors or empty cells. Then you have column distribution, which tells you all about the variety in your data. And column profile? Well, that's your deep dive, your full-on forensic analysis that gives you all the stats you need to build your case.
Okay, this is super important. You have to understand the difference between distinct and unique. Distinct is the number of different kinds of values. So if your list is apple, apple, orange, banana, you have 3 distinct values. But unique only counts the things that show up just one time. So in that same list, only orange and banana are unique. Getting this difference is absolutely key to spotting weird patterns in your data.
Think of column profile as the full lab report on your evidence. It gives you everything. The total number of rows, how many errors and empties you have, your distinct and unique counts we just talked about, and even stats like the minimum, maximum, and average values. This is where the really good stuff, the hidden clues, start to pop out.
All right, so we've found the problems, we've identified the sketchy evidence. Now it's time to interrogate the data and start making some corrections. This is how we start to build a solid case.
Probably one of the most common things you're going to do is replace values. Maybe NY needs to become New York, or a null value actually means 0. Power Query makes this so easy. You just right-click the column, tell it what you want to replace, and then tell it what the new correct value is. Boom, done. It's a really simple way to clean things up.
Now, sometimes a row of data is it's too far gone. It's too corrupted to fix. So you can choose to just remove rows that have errors. But, and this is a big but, you have to be careful here. This is a pretty serious move because you're not just deleting one bad cell. You're deleting the entire row of data. You have to be sure you're not throwing away a ton of other good information from the other columns in that same row.
Hey, when you find one of those cells that just says error, don't just delete it. Interrogate it. Click right on the cell. Down at the bottom, Power Query will tell you exactly what went wrong. And a lot of the time, the culprit is something called a type conversion issue, which is just a fancy way of saying some text snuck into a numbers-only column. And just like that, you know exactly what you need to fix.
Any good detective will tell you that a single piece of evidence is rarely enough to solve a case. The real truth, the whole story, that only starts to emerge when you connect different sources together. And it's the exact same thing with data.
Power Query gives you 2 main ways to do this. First, you can append. Appending is like taking all your witness statements from January and stacking them right on top of your statements from February. You end up with one long, taller list. Merging is totally different. Merging is like taking your list of suspects and joining it with a list of their known addresses. You connect them side by side using a key, like their name, which makes your table wider.
So the thing that makes a merge happen is called a join. And this is a fundamental concept for connecting data sets. All you do is find a column that both tables have in common, like an employee ID or a product code, and you use that common key to link the rows together. It lets you build this much richer, more complete picture of what's going on.
Now you've got a bunch of different ways to join your data. An inner join only shows you the rows that match in both tables. A left outer keeps everything from your first table. But honestly, the real detective work, the really cool stuff, happens with the anti-joins. A left anti-join, for example, that's perfect for finding out which customers from your big master list have never made a purchase. It shows you what's missing, and sometimes that's the most important clue of all.
Okay, we've cleaned up our evidence, we've connected our sources. Now it's time for the final paperwork. We have to prepare our clean data so it's ready for the final report, or in our world, the data model.
This is so important to get. There are two languages at play here. Everything we've been doing so far in Power Query, all the cleaning and replacing and merging, that's all written in a language called M. M is the language of data transformation. Once that clean data is loaded, you switch over to a different language, called DAX, to do your analysis and calculations. So, to put it simply, M prepares the data, DAX analyzes it. I know this might seem like a tiny little detail, but trust me, it is so important. Clean up your column and query names. Don't leave them as fin_total_obligations. Change it to something a human can read, like total obligated amount. This isn't just about being neat. It's about creating a final report that someone else, or even you, 6 months from now, can actually understand. And for our last step, not every single query you make needs to go into the final model. Sometimes you build what are called helper queries that you only use for a quick merge or something. To keep your final model from getting cluttered, you can just right-click those queries and uncheck Enable Load. The query still works in the background, but it won't show up in your final data set. Once you've done that, you hit Close and Apply, and your case file is officially ready for analysis. So there you have it. You've gone from a messy, chaotic crime scene to a clean, well-organized case file. You followed the clues, you corrected the evidence, you connected the dots. The detective work is officially done. And now, the real adventure begins. With clean, trustworthy data in your hands, what incredible story are you going to uncover?